If you want to build speed while simultaneously learning how to connect all 5 pentatonic shapes across the neck, you've got to learn this lick. I see a lot of intermediate guitar players getting stuck in box 1 or 2, and it can make their solos just sound a bit disconnected or a bit bland. In this video, I'll break down one fast melodic lick that moves through all 5 shapes of the pentatonic scale and helps you start unlocking the fretboard. So this is a 16th note lick in A minor, utilising the pentatonic box system. I'm going to break it down into 8 note phrases just to make it a bit more digestible. So we start off here on the 5th fret of the B string and then go up to the 8th fret. That's a hammer-on note. Then we travel up to the 5th fret of the E string, then up to the 7th and back down. So the phrase so far. From here we go back down to the 8th fret of the B string, which is our G note, then back up to the A and then B. So our first phrase is this. I'm hammering on, so I'm going pick, hammer on, pick, hammer on, pull off, pick, hammer on. After this we play the 8th fret on the E string, and then we pull off down to the 7th, then down to the 5th. So the phrase after that is, after we hit this A note, or we've pulled off to this A note, we then position shift by sliding up to the 8th fret of the E string. So it will go like this. Then from here, we hit the 10th fret of the E string, then down to the 8th fret. And then the same pattern, but on the B string. Now that's our first phrase. So it goes like this, nice and slow. Bit faster. Now at full speed. After here, we have another position shift and we slide up from the 8th fret with our index finger to the 10th fret of the B string. So when we get up to that A, that's the first beat of the new bar. The first 8 notes of the new pattern go like this. You will notice it's actually the same pattern and position as the first. So 10th fret, 13th fret, then up to the E string, 10th fret, 12th fret, back down, 13th fret of the B, up to the 10th of the E, up to the 12th of the E. Then from here, bit of a stretch, so you maybe have to practice this. So same pattern with here, but we play it from the 15th fret of the E string, pull off down to the 12th, pull off down to the 10th. So the pattern so far. Now where this changes is we use a position shift again, and we slide down from the 10th fret of the E string back down to the 8th, and then it's a similar pattern to last time. So how we ended the sort of first phrase, it's the same thing again with this. So that lick is, so in its entirety so far we have Then for the next 8 notes, it's the same thing as the last time. So we slide up from the 8th to the 10th. Then we go. And then it's the same 3-note rundown. So from the 15th note of the E down to the 12th, down to the 10th. So then from here we have another position shift. With our index finger we slide up from the 10th fret of the E up to the 12th. Then we hit the 15th fret of the E string, pull off down to the 12th, then hit the 15th fret of the B string and then pull off to the 13th. So that phrase now is this. So far, our lick in its entirety is this. Then for the next part, it's actually the final part of the lick. We slide up from the 13th fret of the B with our index finger up to the 15th fret. And then from here, the pattern goes like this. 15, 17, 15, 17, pull off back down to 15, then 17, then hit the 15th fret again, then the 17th fret. So that pattern so far is. And then we hit the 19th fret of the E string and we do this pattern. 19, 17, 15. So we have this. So this is the final position shift. We hit the 15th fret of the E string up to the 17th fret with our index finger. So it goes like this. And then from here, we hit the 20th fret of the E string. And then go down, same pattern on the B string. 20, 17, 20, 17. So final part of the lick. Then we end the phrase with a full bend on the 20th fret of the B string. So the whole lick is this. Cool, so if you guys want the tab for that, I'll have a link in my description where you can get access to the guitar profile and also just the PDF, so whatever works for you. Now, I think this lick is really cool for a number of different reasons, especially when it comes to improving your own playing. It involves position shifting, it shows you the 5 different pentatonic box shapes across the neck, certainly for the top 2 strings. It teaches you a bit of speed, and it also adds in the major second note, in this case the B, which really helps when it comes to phrasing your solos in a more melodic way. Now, the cool thing about learning different positions within the pentatonic scale, or any scale for that matter, it doesn't have to be pentatonics, it could just be the major scale, it could be the natural minor scale, harmonic minor scale, whatever scale it is that you're trying to learn and sort of get used to. Learning the different positions of it is cool because you start realizing that it's all the same notes in each different position, it's just that they're arranged in a different order. But with them being arranged in a different order, it means that you can get some really cool different sounds depending on where you are on the neck. So you could just be playing around in box 1. And all of a sudden you've ended up in box 2 just by When you do that, knowing where you are is really handy because now all of a sudden you've got different notes that you can play in a different order. You don't feel like you have to run back to box 1 every time you sort of accidentally position shift or intentionally position shift. You know, if you end up here, you have some different options here now. Knowing this lick shows you these different positions, at least on the top 2 strings, and it gets you started in learning those different positions. So you can now just quite confidently position shift up to box 2, box 3, box 4, box 5, and you won't necessarily feel lost. So you could be doing something like this. So learning this lick really does sort of get you really familiar with your different shapes, certainly on the top 2 strings across the neck. And then from there, when you get really comfortable with them, you can just start exploring the other sort of notes within those box shapes, and they already feel a bit more familiar to you. Another benefit, which I think is probably the main benefit, at least for me with this lick, is that it adds in the major second note, in this case the B. If you do add in the major second note, all of a sudden your pentatonic licks sound a lot more melodic. And if you're playing music that is maybe sort of classic rock or ballad rock or just any kind of thing that's a bit more chilled out, that melodic note can really, really help elevate your solos and actually make you stand out a bit more. Now, the pentatonic scale still sounds really cool, but it does sound very open and it doesn't particularly have a melodic character to it. The second that you start adding in that major second note and sort of really knowing where it is on the neck, it just opens up a world of possibilities for you. You can kind of start doing stuff like this. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one.